Hello guys, welcome back. I'm Yusuf Shakeel and you are watching CSS tutorial series. In this video, we are going to learn how to style text. So let's get started. Alright, so I have opened brackets and now I'll go ahead and create a new file and I'll save this file as text.html. And now I'll write the following HTML. So we have the doc type HTML, opening and closing HTML tag. We have the opening and closing head tag. And we have set the title to text. Now inside the CSS folder, we'll go ahead and create a new file and we'll save this as text.css. Now back to text.html file, and inside the head, we are going to include this text.css file which is inside the CSS folder. So we'll write link rel and we'll set this attribute to style sheet, and href we'll set this to CSS / text.css. And now we'll open the live preview. Let's begin by talking about the color property. We use the color property to set the color of the text. So for example, let's say we have a header h1 and we have an ID set to sample-h1 and the text is hello world. And now let's say we want to change the color of this text to blue. So inside our text.css file, since we are targeting this h1 element having ID sample-h1, so we'll write hash sample-h1 and we'll use the color property to set the color of this text, and the value of this color property can be a name of a color, it can be in hex form, it can be in RGB form, or it can be in RGBA form. So we want to set the color of this text to blue, so either we can write blue and we'll get the output in blue color, or we can use the RGBA format. So RGBA, the first value is for red, and since we want the blue color, so the red value will be 0. G is for green, which will be 0. B is for blue and it will be 255, which is the max value, and A is for alpha, and we'll set this to 1. So if you look at the output, we have the text in blue color. We can also use RGB format. So let me comment this out. RGB format. We want the color of this text to be blue, so red will be 0, green will be 0, and B will be 255. And we have the text in blue color. Similarly, we can use hex. So let me bring this down. So in hex format, we use the hash, and the first two characters are for red, the next two characters are for green, and the last two characters are for blue. So we want this to be in blue color, so the red will be 00, green will be 00, and blue will be FF. And we have the output in blue color. And this is in hex form. Or we can also use the color name. So we can also use this. I will give the link of my CSS color tutorial in the video description and in the info card, so feel free to check that out. Now let's talk about the background color property. We use the background color property to set the background color of the text. So let's say inside our HTML file, we have another header, and let's say this time h2, and we have an ID having value sample-h2, and let's say the text is heading h2. And let's say we want to set the background color of this heading h2 to, let's say, light yellow. So we'll go back to our text.css file and we'll write hash sample-h2, and we'll use the background dash color property, and the value of this background dash color property can be the name of the color. It can be in hex, RGBA, or RGB format. So let's use the color name. So we'll write light yellow. And if you look at the output, you can see the background color is set to light yellow for this heading h2. The next property that we'll discuss is the line height property. We use the line height property to specify the line height for the element. So for example, let's say in our HTML file, we have, let's say, 3 paragraphs. And let's say we have a class sample-p. And we have class for each of the 3 paragraphs. And now let's say we want to change the line height for this paragraphs having class sample-p to, let's say, 24 pixels. So back in our CSS file, we'll write dot sample-p, and we'll set the line height property to 24 pixels. And now if you look at the output, you can see this highlighted rectangle in blue color. So the line height has increased. We can similarly increase the line height to, let's say, 30 pixels, or let's say 60 pixels. So you can see this rectangle highlighted in blue. So this is now the line height for this paragraph, and it is set to 60 pixels. Let us reduce this to, let's say, 30 pixels. The next property that we'll discuss is the text decoration property. We use this property to decorate the text. So let's say back in our HTML file, let's say we have a paragraph, and let's say it has a class sample-p1. And let's say the text of this paragraph is hello world. And now let's say we want to decorate this. So we'll go to our CSS file and we'll write dot sample-p1, and let's increase the font size to 30 pixels. And now to decorate this text, we use the text decoration property, and it can take 4 values that are commonly used. The first one is none, which means there will be no decoration. But let's say we want to have an underline. So for that, we set the value to underline. And now if you look at the output, hello world has an underline. Similarly, if you want an overline, we can set the text decoration property to overline. And now if you look at the output, we can see hello world has an overline. And similarly, we can set the text decoration property to line through. And as the name suggests, we will have a line through the text. So line dash through. And you can see the output. We have a line through the text hello world. So let me include the values in the comment. Text decoration, we can set it to none, or text decoration, we can set it to underline, text decoration, we can set it to overline, and we have this line through. The next property that we'll discuss is the text align property, and this property is used to align the text horizontally. So let's say in our HTML file, let's say we have a paragraph having class sample-p2, and let's say the text is sample para, and back to our CSS file. Since we are going to target this paragraph having class sample-p2, so we'll write dot sample-p2. And now we'll use the text align property to align the text horizontally. And it can take 3 values: left, center, and right. So text align left, we can set it to center, and you can see the output. Now the text is at the center, and we can set the text align value to right if we want the text to align at the right side. So for text align, we use 3 values. Left, we use the center value to align the text at the center, and we use the right value to align the text at the right side. So we have left, center, and right. The next property that we are going to discuss is the letter spacing property. And we use this property to set the spacing between the letters. So let's say back in our HTML file, let's say we have another paragraph, and let's give this paragraph a class sample-p3, and let's say the content of this paragraph is happy. So back in our CSS file, since we are targeting this paragraph having class sample-p3, so we'll write dot sample-p3. And let's say we want to set the letter spacing to, let's say 10 pixels. So we'll write letter-spacing, and we'll set this to 10 pixels. And now if you look at the output, you can see we have a 10 pixel spacing between the letters. Similarly, you can reduce the value, let's say 0 or -10, and -10 is not a good idea. As you can see, the letters are now overlapping. So let us set it to 10 pixels, and it looks good. So we use the letter spacing property to set the spacing between the letters for the given text. The next property that we'll discuss is the text transform property. And we use this property to convert the case of the text. That is, we can use the text transform property to change the text to lowercase, to uppercase, or to capitalize. So let's say back in our HTML file, we have, let's say, a paragraph, and this time this paragraph has a sample p4 class, and let's say the content is hello world. And now we want to transform this text to lowercase, uppercase, and capitalize. Let me change the W to lowercase. Now back in our CSS file, since we are targeting the sample-p4 using the class, so we'll write dot sample-p4. Let's set the font size for this text to 24 pixels. Now let's say we want to transform this text to lowercase. So we'll write text dash transform and we'll set the value to lowercase. And now if you look at the output, all the letters are in lowercase. Similarly, we can set it to uppercase. So for that, we'll set the text transform value to uppercase. And all the letters will be in uppercase. And similarly, we can use capitalize. This is used to change the first letter of each word to uppercase. And if you remember in our HTML file, I intentionally set the W to lowercase. And since we are using the text transform and we are setting the value of text transform to capitalize, so you can see this W is now in uppercase, while in HTML it is in lowercase. So we can use CSS to transform the text into uppercase, lowercase, and capitalize. So the values are text transform lowercase, text transform uppercase, and text transform capitalize. The next property that we'll discuss is the text indent property. And we use this property to set the indentation for the first line of the text. So let's say we have a paragraph in our HTML file, and let's say it's a very lengthy paragraph, and let's give this paragraph a class sample-p5. And now let's say we want to give the first line of this paragraph an indentation of, let's say, 30 pixels. So for that, we'll go inside our CSS file and we'll write .sample-p5 and we'll set text-indent property to 30 pixels. And now if you look at the output, you can see the first line is having indentation of 30 pixels. So we use the text indent property to set the indentation for the first line of the text. And the last property that I want to discuss with you guys is the word spacing property. This property is used to set the spacing between the words in a given text. So let's say we have a paragraph having class sample-p6. And let's say the content of this paragraph is, this is a sample paragraph. And you can see the output. And let's say we want to set the word spacing for this paragraph to 30 pixels. That is, we want a 30 pixel spacing between the words for this given text. So in our CSS file, we'll write sample-p6 and we'll use word spacing property and we'll set the value to 30 pixels. And now if you look at the output, you can see we have a 30 pixel spacing between the words. For this given text, this is a sample paragraph. Alright guys, this brings us to the end of this tutorial. I'll post the tutorial notes on my website dyclassroom.com. The link will be in the description. And all the code that we are writing in this tutorial series, I'll put them in my GitHub repository. I'll put the links in the description, so please check that out. And if you enjoyed this video, then please give this video a like and please subscribe my channel. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next video, and like always, stay happy and keep smiling. Bye.